Hello everyone. Welcome back to another video. I'm sorry guys. It's record. Oops. It's recording. Sorry guys. Sorry for the delay. Something was downloading, so I don't know what it was, but it's the filming software that I use. I think I recommend that you use it. It's very good. So anyway guys, sorry guys, I haven't been uploaded for a long time. School has started and I'm kind of busy. I already have a lot of work to do for in my U.S. history class. It's an AP course, so yeah. I mean, I got it's not like a whole lot, but I got to do a map assignment, so it's gonna be a little busy. But and so I think this is probably one upload I could probably squeeze right now. Anyway, guys, this is an alternate 2004 election between incumbent President George W. Bush and Dick Gephardt. I think he's a representative from Missouri. So let's see who wins this matchup. Anyway, so Bush's safe states, I think Idaho, Wyoming, the Dakotas. I think all of Nebraska was safe Republican at the time. Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana. Probably Louisiana, yeah. Although I think Dick Gephardt was kind of conservative, but no. Uh, yeah, so Louisiana, I don't, actually maybe not Louisiana, but I think Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina were all safe for Bush. And it's quite surprising how Georgia was used to be a safe Republican state at the time, back in 2004. Georgia was a safe Republican state. And I think that was the Republican Party's maximum when it came to in Georgia. And then since then, it has been trending red. Kentucky, Tennessee, probably, I think Tennessee's rural areas are getting a lot redder. So actually, maybe not Tennessee. Tennessee's gun was a little bit bluer back then too. So for Bush, I don't think he has any more safe states. I think Montana will be safe Bush, and I think Indiana might be safe Bush as well. Bush might be safe in Indiana, and yeah, I think that's it for Bush. And for Bush, he has 133. So for Dick Gephardt, I think he would have done better than Kerry in California. He would have done better than Kerry. I think Washington and Oregon were kind of competitive at the time. New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Vermont. Yeah, Vermont was a solid state. Maine's first. I think that would be solid. And then Delaware, Maryland, D.C., and Illinois. That would probably be safe for Dick Gephardt. And I think he'd do better in Hawaii. Although the Asian vote did kind of swing to the Bush, but um, I think Gephardt has more appeal than Kerry. So I think he would be definitely a good suit for Hawaii. And I think Gephardt, I think overall would have been a better candidate than Kerry because he's from Middle America, so he's not going to be perceived as like an elitist, like how George Bush attacked Kerry for being a Massachusetts liberal, which is a pretty like an ad hominem kind of thing, but still, you know. But Gephardt I think was could be considered part of the establishment, although he did run as a populist, so I think that'll help him in the Rust Belt. So Bush's likely states, I think Arizona probably would be a likely state for Bush. I think Bush has a good suburban appeal, and suburban America was relatively red at this time too. While rural America was more swing at the time too. So Arizona, I'd see that being a likely red state. Louisiana, I see that being likely red as well. Tennessee, that's likely for Bush. I think Gephardt would probably do a little bit better than Kerry in rural Tennessee. I think he'd narrow down the margins. So for Bush, so I think Bush would end up running away with Tennessee with like by 12 points or 11%. Louisiana, I see about a Bush running it away with 10%, and Arizona, I think Bush would probably win it by 8. Um, I'd say Arkansas. I know Gephardt is from neighboring Arkansas. Both are have good regional advantage too because he's right across the border, and Texas also shares a border with Arkansas. But Arkansas is marching to the right. I think a favorite son at the time would win Arkansas, but I don't see any other Democrat having the same level of appeal that Bill Clinton had in Arkansas. So yeah, so I think Arkansas would be a likely red state, and I don't see any other likely states for. I think Virginia would be likely for Bush. I think the Bush would get the establishment will support Bush, and plus, suburban Virginia was also red at the time too. So I believe Bush will carry Virginia by about 7%. I would say 7%, and probably Florida. I think Jeb Bush was governor at the time, and plus I think Bush also is pretty well popular in Florida. So I think he'd probably do well in Florida. I think he'd do pretty well in Florida, and yeah. For Dick Gephardt. I think Washington and Oregon might be likely. I think Gephardt would probably do better with more progressive voters. I think Washington and Oregon are pretty anti-war states, so they're pretty progressive in its politics, and so I think Gephardt would definitely energize younger voters. And probably see New Jersey. That is probably going to be likely for Dick Gephardt. I think Bush would kind of do better in the suburbs, but I think Gephardt would do better in the more rural southern New Jersey. I think he'd do better in. And um, Maine at large and Maine second. Maine second was actually kind of was Democratic leaning at the time, so I believe Gephardt would probably take Maine second and Maine at large by about a similar margin, probably by about the same margin. So I think now these are the most probably going to be the most competitive. Ooh, North Carolina. I think North Carolina would be likely for Bush as well, because the research triangle is still a little bit red, light blue. So I think that would probably give Republicans the advantage in North Carolina. So now we're in our most competitive states in this election. So we have Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Missouri, Iowa, Minnesota, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, New Hampshire. So Gephardt's lean states. I'll probably give the Rust Belt to Gephardt all lean margins. I think Gephardt. Oops, sorry guys. I think Gephardt would do better than Kerry in the Rust Belt because Dick Gephardt is from the East North, from the Central Midwest, so I think he has that Midwestern appeal. It depends on how he run his campaign, but I think he'd do well in the Rust Belt. So, and I'd probably say Iowa. He'd probably carry Iowa, and probably he'd carry his home state of Missouri by a lean margin. Because Missouri was kind of swing at the time, and I think Kerry was a bit too liberal for at the time for Missourians, so that's why he got lost by 7.2. But I think someone like Gephardt would probably do a lot better in rural Missouri, so I think he'd probably narrowly take the state over Bush. But Missouri is still marching rightward, and I think he would. I'm sorry, guys. I think he would have carried Minnesota by a likely margin because the working class, like especially in western Minnesota, I think that was more democratic at the time too. So yeah, I think he'd take New Hampshire by a lean margin as well. So the Bush lean states for Bush, I'd say probably Colorado would probably lean in favor of Bush. For Bush, I think Colorado was still a Republican state at the time. Like it wasn't like a state like Virginia, but it was still relatively Republican when it came to like politics. Like the Denver suburbs used to be kind of red. Well, Denver itself was red. It was blue, but the suburbs itself. But I believe this. But the suburbs of Denver were sort of red. So that's what made the state red. And I think I think West Virginia might be a lean margin for Bush. He'd probably take West Virginia by a lean margin. I mean, wait, holy, holy crap! Dick Gephardt won the election. Holy crap! Dick Gephardt won the election. Holy crap! Sorry guys. I didn't realize Dick ran Gephardt. Holy crap! Dick Gephardt won the election. So yeah. So I think Dick Gephardt could have beaten Bush. I think Bush was not as strong a guy, but I think he was a good guy. But So, but I think West Virginia still would have been a lead margin. I think, well, Gephardt I think might have done better than Kerry in West Virginia, but West Virginia has been marching red, and from to go from like a 14-point Democratic state to like a 6-point Republican state, that's a 20-point swing. So because of how big swing from 96 to 2000, I think Bush should probably carry West Virginia by about 2 to 3 points. And I think that's all I see for Bush. So I think Gephardt I think New Mexico might be lead margin actually for Gephardt. So Gephardt is 275. Guys, I didn't realize that Gephardt won the election. So sorry, guys. Um, so we're now in Nevada and Ohio. So I think Ohio would have been a very interesting state because Ohio is a bellwether was a bellwether at the time. So normally it'd vote for the winner of the election, but I think if I were to choose, I think Gephardt would narrowly be the favorite in Ohio because, you know, I think Ohio's a bellwether, so it probably won't vote the same way Missouri would have voted. Plus, Ohio, it's very interesting politically. Like Ohio is more urbanized in the north, but more rural in the south. So Ohio is an interesting state, but I think Gephardt, due to him being from the Midwest, not from like the coast, I think he'd do pretty well in Ohio. But I think Bush would do well in the Columbus and in Cleveland's area, in the Cincinnati area, which Cincinnati was reliably Republican at the time too. So, but I think overall, I think Dick Gephardt would run up the score in northern Ohio and along Appalachia. I think he'd run the score. So I think Gephardt would narrowly, at the end of the day, carry by about 0.7, 0.8%. And finally, we're on the state of Nevada. Nevada is a little bit of a hard thing because Hispanics usually do swing towards the incumbent. So I think Bush being the incumbent, I think he'd do get enough Hispanics to get to win the state. Although I do think I think Bush would probably take Nevada very very narrowly. I think it's gonna be super close, but I think that Hispanics usually swing towards the incumbent, and plus I think the establishment will not like someone like Gephardt. So uh, I'd see Nevada probably tilting in favor of Bush. I think it'll be super super close. It's not going to come down to the wire in the state of Nevada. Anyway, guys, that is it for today. That is it for my alternate 2004 election in between George Bush and Dick Gephardt. Anyway, guys, if you like my video, please subscribe to my channel. We said, guys, we're running behind in subscribers. Like we're still not even at 50, even though that's what was my goal in August itself. So, you guys definitely got to do better in subscribers. Anyway, guys, I will see you guys all in the next video. I'm sorry, guys, I'm in a hurry too because I got work to do, but I just found time to do it right now, so why not? So, anyway, guys, that is it for today's video. I will see you all in the next video. Libertarian election predictions out.